Howdy, folks. It's Robey here with the Manufactured Mind. I hope everybody's doing well today. I had recorded this live, but my audio messed up, so I'm having to re-record it. Not live. So today's episode is on what's called the Manufactured Division. I compiled basically an evidence brief regarding a few different things, starting off first with the birth rate collapse. The U.S. fertility rate has hit a historic low in 2023 and again in 2024. The current rate is approximately 1.6, well below the 2.1 replacement level required to sustain a population without immigration. The peak was 3.7 in 1957. It fell below replacement around 1972. The post 2007 acceleration is what demographers call alarming. This is not uniquely American. South Korea's fertility rate is like 0.7, the lowest ever recorded for any nation. And then there's Germany, Japan, Italy, and most of Western Europe are converging on the same outcome. Work and family policies alone cannot explain the cross-national decline, says OECD's 2024 Society at a Glance report. And they also said the average age at first birth rose from 28 and a half in 2000 to 30.9 in 2022. No advanced economy has raised its fertility back to replacement and sustained it. Not one. Think about that. But let that sink in. Then you have marriage and free fall, the attitudinal data. So 34%, and this is some pretty shocking percentages and statistics here, folks, to say the least. So 34% of Gen Z view marriage as a potential lifelong financial burden. 48% say their peers are delaying marriage due to economic insecurity. I could understand that worry. 44% say traditional marriage roles are outdated. 25% have already rejected the idea of marriage altogether. What a young age to reject marriage. 36% say marriage is becoming less relevant in modern society. This one should alarm the hell out of you. 74% of Gen Z say they can have fulfilling lives without kids. And only 67% say marriage is critical for raising children in a stable environment. The lowest percentage of any surveyed generation ever. Wow. So they think that raising a child in a single parent household is more stable? What? Because I can tell you from experience that it's not at all. You know, it's vital for both of the parents to be there. In fact, our natural purpose, folks, is to have kids, to reproduce. And we have been driven away from that so far that this is where we've landed. With this individual, independent, me, all about me outlook. And, I understand what, somebody who chooses a period of solitude to reclaim themselves, redefine themselves, like myself, for instance, in my recovery stages right now. The past 3 years, I've been in chosen solitude. Actually, for the last 4 years or so, I've been in chosen solitude because I knew I needed to get my shit together before I could find a woman worthy of having a child with, because as long as you're on drugs, you're gonna attract what you are. So as long as you're an addict, you're going to attract addicts. I didn't want that as my child's life. I didn't want a child to be born into that shit. It's selfish as fuck. And quite frankly, it's selfish to not have kids. If you're going through this life thinking that, you know, the very short time that we have on the very small ball of dirt that we are floating around on in this universe by chance, let's just say that, how fortunate you are to even be here, and you're going to waste it fucking seeking instant gratification and self soothing activities, fucking pleasure ridden activities, seeking sex for pleasure, which is completely diluted. Sex is so sacred. It's like the closest that you can humanly possibly ever come to having godlike powers. You're creating life. And that's just getting tossed out the window if it's some fucking burden. This is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting and absurd, folks. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Like, what? Jesus. If people would realize that having a kid, the majority of the time, not everybody, because there are bad eggs in the bunch. There's bad people out here. People who shouldn't have kids. But they end up doing it anyways because they're seeking pleasure over connection. And then when they get pregnant or they get somebody pregnant, it ends up being the one that they don't want to be with because they end up showing their true fucking colors in, a year or two's time, and they realize that this person isn't parent material. So you've got to vet these individuals out. Like, sex is sacred, man. Pleasure is just a plus to sex. An entire industry has been built around sex as pleasure. Yeah, sex is great. It's a very pleasurable thing. But you know what is even better? The fact that you can do that and create a human being. Like, but yet people aren't finding pleasure in that. It's self-serving shit, man. People are just having sex to fucking get pleasure, not for the sacred, fertile reasons. So 81% of Gen Z say they value marriage. That number is lower than every other generation surveyed. Gen Z is the least likely generation to say marriage is important for raising children. The Harvard Youth Poll from April 2025 shows just 48% of young Americans say having children is important, the lowest ranked life goal measured, marking a clear generational shift in how success is defined. And that is because we are seeking external success, not internal success. And a child is a great example of internal success. Why? Well, because it is conceived internally and it grows internally. Think about that. The average age of first marriages has climbed from roughly men being 23 and women being around 20 in the late 1960s to 30 plus for both in current data. Which that's fine and all, like, I still haven't had kids. I want to have kids, like, really bad. It's just a matter of finding somebody who's mother material, wife material, has good values and morals, isn't addicted to pleasure seeking and realizes that happiness is a fleeting emotion, not permanent. And, it doesn't have unrealistic fucking expectations from life in general. Like somebody who's humble, loyal, respectful, trusting, honest, integrity, one who can have a conversation and not let their emotions dictate their fucking words or actions. That's what we call a needle in the haystack. Then there's the gender division, the most urgent variable to this. This is where the manufactured division becomes undeniable. Gallup data shows that after decades of near equal distribution, women aged 18 to 30 are now 30 percentage points more liberal than their male contemporaries, a gap that took just 6 years to open up. Just 6. This divergence is happening internationally across G7 countries and emerging markets alike. Gen Z men are trending toward traditional and conservative values, while Gen Z women trend progressive and liberal. The Ipsos Generations Report 2025 warned that Gen Z is not a monolith, and simplifying them into one cohort misses a fundamental fracture. Gen Z men who backed Trump in 2024 rated having children as the top definition of personal success, as they should, because they're right. Gen Z women who backed Harris rated it as second to last. Not second to last. That's insane. That is insane. The Financial Times described Gen Z as 2 generations, not one, saying tens of millions of people who occupy the same cities, workplaces, classrooms, and even homes no longer see eye to eye. Now, you're not going to always see eye to eye with everybody, obviously. You've got to find common ground. But if you are so fucking stubborn, ignorant, and stuck in a one-track mindset that you're just completely unwilling to even entertain or explore a rational, logical concept. Now, I understand if it's like completely out the fucking window, retarded or insane, like obviously, don't go with that. But there's always common ground to be found, man. We got to focus on the positive, not the negative. So, Richard Reeves of Boys and Men documented that only 39% of young male high school graduates enrolled in college in 2022, down from 47% in 2011. Women now outnumber men in college enrollment 59.5% to 40.5%. There are currently 2.4 million more female than male undergraduates in America. And then there's fatherlessness. In 1960, folks, 8% of children were born outside of marriage. 1991, 28%. Today, it's a 4x since 1960. 40%, folks. 40% children born outside of marriage. Children from fatherless homes are documented to be significantly more likely to experience poverty, incarceration, substance abuse, academic failure, and suicide. This isn't contested, folks. Not at all. It's in the peer-reviewed literature across decades. Then there's the birth control decoupling argument. Economist George Akerlof and Janet Yellen documented that modern contraception fundamentally changed the social contract around sex, shifting reproductive responsibility entirely to women and simultaneously removing the moral and social obligations for men to commit. The working class paid the steepest price. And then there's the mental health dimension. Good old Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation, which I urgently encourage every parent and parent-to-be to read this book. Please. It documents that youth mental health was relatively stable through the 80s, began climbing in the 90s, exploded post-2012 when smartphones reached saturation in the teen market. Girls were hit hardest, skyrocketing depression, anxiety, self-harm rates, and boys were hit differently. Withdrawal, pornography addiction, gaming, and purpose collapse. That's because our purpose is to reproduce. Simple. It's that simple. Reproduce. That will give you purpose. Now, like I said, you need to vet the person out that you may want to have children with, and don't make it all about sex, because you're not going to find somebody like that. You're not going to find the right one like that just based around sex. Just not going to happen. But having kids will fundamentally give you purpose and drive, which will lead, I would argue, to you achieving or reaching your individual ambitions and purpose later on. You can pursue your individual goals and purpose that you think you are here to serve while having a child. Our natural purpose is to have children, folks. There's a reason behind it, not just repopulating. It does something to you, obviously. Like, it teaches you to not be fucking selfish. It teaches you that it's not all about you. And I know I don't have kids, and I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about from, having my own kids or something, but I haven't. But I have dated a woman with kids, and I loved it. And we dated for quite a few years. I loved it. But I want my own kids, man. The CDC found teens with 4 or more hours of daily screen time had more than double the rates of anxiety and depression. Common Sense Media found the average American teen spends 8 hours and 39 minutes a fucking day on screens for entertainment. Not work, for entertainment. That's an entire work day spent on the phone. What the fuck? I do everything in my power to not be on my phone. In fact, it's always on Do Not Disturb. So I don't hear any notifications, any calls, nothing. It's a nuisance. Then there's the dual income trap. 2-income households went from choice to mathematical necessity in most American metros, which eventually this is where it's led to, the parents aren't even able to raise their children. It's the institutions that are indoctrinating the children, and the babysitters and the daycares that are raising the children, because the parents are having to fucking work so much to make ends meet that they aren't even getting quality time with their children, because by the time they get home, the kids got to do their homework still. They've got to cook dinner and all this other shit, get them prepared for the next day. There is no quality time being spent. It's get home, take care of dinner, get the kids bathed, brush their teeth, maybe, or do their homework, maybe get like 5 or 10 minutes in there to ask them how their day is. And then it's to bed and back to work the next morning, back to indoctrinating the kids, and the cycle repeats. So it's insane. It's insane. I think that's a systematic, structured move right there. I think that's what that was. So the manufactured component, the thesis. Dating apps were deliberately engineered using the same slot machine dopamine mechanics as gambling. This connects to my connection crisis episode I did. intermittent variable rewards, infinite scroll, quantified social approval. They manufacture perpetual dissatisfaction by design. Facebook's founding president, Sean Parker, publicly admitted the platform was designed to consume, quote, as much of your time and conscious attention as possible, end quote, by, quote, exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology, end quote. Wow. And then the WHO, the World Health Organization, the population control freaks, Commission on Social Connection, 1 in 6 people globally is affected by loneliness, linked to approximately, holy shit, 871,000 deaths annually. Wow. The U.S. Surgeon General stated the health risk equivalent is smoking 15 cigarettes per day. That's insane. Now, there's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Chosen solitude. If you are in the presence of just yourself and you're bored, you're not in good company. And that should speak volumes to you. But if you are in solitude and this doesn't mean living in solitude. This could mean being in solitude for 30 minutes a day or living in solitude, whatever. If you are bored in the presence of silence with just yourself, you are not in good company. So the core defensible thesis, sorry, the division between men and women is not organic. It is the predictable output of several converging manufactured forces, an economic system that made family formation financially irrational, a social media architecture engineered to monetize loneliness and outrage, an institutional and media landscape that reshaped cultural narratives around gender faster than any support structure could adapt, and a political environment that found enormous power in keeping men and women at ideological war with each other. Diabolical. The data doesn't point at women. It doesn't point at men. It points at a system that profits when they can't find each other, folks. So by either us men or you women pointing the finger at the other one is completely the wrong thing to do. That's what they want. And when you stop fucking running in their hamster wheel and the hamster wheel finally breaks or you step out of it and you experience stillness and reality for the first time in your life, then that's when you know you broke free from their algorithmic hamster wheel narratives that they're pushing. When you realize that genuine connection with someone and building a life as a team, conceiving a child, raising a human being is the most divine gift that you could ever have in this life. The quicker you start realizing that, the better off we're going to be. I can't believe that this is people's outlooks on marriage and kids. They've manufactured people into seeking personal, pleasurable gratification instantly and having them think that seeking a career where they're going to be making somebody else a bunch of money and they're going to be paying or living paycheck to paycheck is their fundamental purpose in life, and not having children and having a family and creating a stable environment by having a family. It's this individual independence mindset that has been pushed, that has done this too. Like, I personally believe that families should stick together like many other cultures because it teaches so much, man. And, get you like fucking 80 acres of land, and then you can have a house on like every 5 acres for your family. And then y'all just live there together, work together in each, your own house, but just in relative proximity to each other, all on the same big piece of land. All it takes is for one family member to reach that. But then, it's like the selfishness, fucking the individualistic mindset. You got to do it on your own, which that's fine. Don't get me wrong. Everybody needs to learn. But at the end of the day, everybody should be teaching the values of family sticking together and working together. Family teaches you how to unconditionally love people that you don't agree with, which I could point to what we talked about earlier in this episode about people having different political beliefs and not being able to even sit down or talk to or date somebody of differing beliefs. This is what family teaches you to do, is to love people who have different beliefs than you. And when you take family value away, when you remove, the family structure from a society, when you remove family reunions, when those stop and there's no family connection, then what do you expect your kids are going to grow up and value? Not family, because it wasn't present. And that's what this society has come to. It's sad, man. It's really fucking sad, dude. I hope that people take this episode seriously and really reflect on these fucking statistics, man. This serious shit really matters to me, man. I'm at a point in my life where, I'm pretty damn close to being 100% ready to have kids. Give it another year and I'll be where I want to be at. So I'll get there nevertheless. But it's these younger generations I'm worried about, man. When you have that many people thinking that way, dude, that's just not good. But anyways, that's the full brief, you know, consolidating a couple research reports I've done together into one and then updated with the latest 2025 data. So, having said, that's going to do it for now. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. This is Robey with the Manufactured Mind podcast. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can find me on Podbean. I've actually got a lot more episodes on Podbean right now than I do on YouTube. So go check them out, folks. I know there's plenty of value in one of the episodes for just about everybody out there. But until next time, be easy. Because it ain't easy being cheesy, folks. Peace out.